and I went to Dunk Island. I had an interview as a kitchen hand, and the chef took me up to the staff kitchen and said, "This is your kitchen, this is what you're going to do, da-da-da-da-da." I didn't really know what to do, so I rang my brother. And I remember he had a book called Cooking for 100.
Okay.
So I said, "You got to give me this book." So I went from head chef to vegetable chef. I had to make 6 vegetables every day for silver service.
Okay.
So they had to look good on a silver platter. And that was all I had to do. You know, I'm a fast ladder climber. So within 6 months, I was the dessert chef. A lot of people think simple is simple.
Yeah.
But simple can be really good if every element of it is very good. And I get excited when I see an apprentice these days who was an apprentice of mine like 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and I see the new position they've got, you know, the head chef of this hotel or that hotel, or they've gone out on their own, and I send them a little message on, you know, Instagram, or, you know, because you can see everything now.
It's a good feeling.
It is,
yeah.
And I'm so proud of you, and you can do it. Fred is a consultant for many years. I said, "What do I charge?" He said, "How much do you want to earn?" And I said, "I don't understand the question." He said, "Well, work out how much you want to earn in a year, and then work out how many days you want to work, and then just divide the two together, and that'll tell you what you're going to charge." I've had ovens go down, I've had substations go down, I've had lots of things go down, gas go off. You know, these are things that happen. Things happen continuously. How you respond to it is your chance of actually working your way through it. You know, I tell people all the time, a problem is just a problem. You know, I can find problems anywhere. Solutions is what I look for. And so I have always looked for solutions, and that's what I try and teach people. You do what you do and you just get enjoyment out of it. You can't just go, "Oh, I wish I had it all over again, I'm going to be this." If you want to do it, go and do it. There's no reason why I can't start a career today. Oh, I am so looking forward to it. I'm still waiting to work out what I'm going to do with my life. I am literally always looking to see what's going to happen next, because I know that I surprised myself.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and another episode from Passion to Professions Chef's Edition. Today we have Chef Paul with us, and he's got tons of experience, like he was mentioning to me earlier, and we're going to go deep dive into it. 45 years of journey. It's going to be interesting. So let's welcome Chef Paul Rifkin. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
So before we go to Africa and know more about it, I would like to know, was like becoming a chef always your dream, or did it come with something that happened when you started your journey?
Well, my pathway was the typical pathway. I went to university and I did ancient history, archaeology and Latin, which is always a good way to start a catering career.
Okay.
And then I started working as a kitchen hand.
Okay. And how old were you back then?
Well, I was at university, so I was probably 18, 19.
So from archaeology to kitchen hand, that's...
Well, I was doing that at night. You know, you need to make money when you're at uni. You got to pay for the motorbike and pay for all the other little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Didn't have HECS debt in those days, but, you know, we still had to have drinking money and those sorts of things.
You got to have that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you got to ask it from your parents.
No. Well, my brother was an apprentice chef, so and it was only up the road that I was able to be a kitchen hand. So just walk up the road and be a kitchen hand.
And what was your experience back then as a kitchen hand?
I just wash the dishes, you know, rip the chicken off the bone and do whatever you're told to do.
So is it the same like how it is today, or was it a little more difficult?
Yeah, it's just, look, every place is different. So it's still the same, you know, a dirty dish is a dirty dish, and a carrot that needs to be peeled is a carrot that needs to be peeled. I don't think, you know, the onions make your eyes water. Nothing much has really changed, you know. A lot of stuff comes in pre-prep these days, but back in those days, everything was sort of, you know, came in a bag. There was no one pre-doing anything.
Yeah, right. And that's when you realized that you wanted to become a chef?
No, not at all.
Okay, so
no.
tell me more about it.
Oh, then I went to another college and did electronics and communications.
Okay.
So that's exactly the same course that Bill Gates did. So there's a bit of sliding doors for you.
Okay.
Could have gone either way, eh?
Right.
And once again, I followed my brother to another restaurant where I was a kitchen hand, and then I got some cooking duties as I sort of moved the way up the path. And the next question you would say is, and so that's when you decided to be a chef?
Yeah, no, but I don't think that's when.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
Okay.
Because, of course, I started an apprenticeship after that as a TV technician.
Okay.
And during that process, my brother had left that restaurant. And so I was working at that restaurant on a Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. And they started to get me to do the salads. And then before I knew it, I was doing the entrees. And, you know, as the year progressed in my first year of the apprenticeship, before I was on the main stove. And yeah, and then it just sort of changed. And no, that's not how I decided to be a chef.
Again, okay.
Because I followed the traditional pathway
Yeah.
of just making it up as you go along.
Yeah, right. So you worked in the same kitchen for like many years? Until you finally decided?
About 2 years I was in that kitchen.
Yeah.
And then I walked away from the apprenticeship when we were doing the final exams.
Yeah.
So I didn't show up because I was already sort of top of the class and didn't see any point in doing that.
Yeah.
So I didn't get my papers, but I should have. But
you did all these courses?
yeah, the teacher got my phone number and sort of rung me up and tried to get me to come back 2 weeks after the exam to do the exam. But, you know.
But you didn't.
I was pretty much lazy and cocky. And so I was working at the restaurant by that stage and doing 5 days a week.
Okay.
And, you know, the owner would come in, I'd be doing the prep, he'd just come in and he was on the stoves as well with me. But most of the time he'd be sitting out the front having a beer or something, and I was doing the stoves and he's talking to the customers. So I guess I was becoming a cook of some degree.
Yeah.
And that's not how I became a chef either.
Okay.
Because after that I packed my car and decided to head north and ended up in Townsville, where I went into a restaurant called Le Fer de Coeur, which was a fine dining restaurant in Townsville in about 1980. And had a grand piano, had a flambe room. It was all silver service, very highfalutin.
Yeah,
I was the kitchen hand, wasn't I? Because I'm not a chef. It wasn't the start of my career. But over a period of time, different people would leave. And before I knew it, I was on the stoves and, you know, working as the second chef there. And then an altercation happened and I wasn't there. So I ended up on Dunk Island. And I went to Dunk Island. I had an interview as a kitchen hand, and they sent the wrong person to the wrong person. So the person who went there as the staff cook, he was stoned, and he didn't listen to his call up. And so I got up and walked off with the chef, and the chef took me up to the staff kitchen and said, "This is your kitchen. This is what we're going to do." Da 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 da. I didn't really know what to do, so I rang my brother. And I remember he had a book called Cooking for 100.
Okay.
So I said, "You got to give me this book." Of course, to get a book to Dunk Island in those days took about 2.5 weeks.
Oh my God.
So the maitre d' would come into the kitchen and he would teach me how to cook for 100 people. It was 110 staff actually. I had to do breakfast, lunch and dinner 5 days a week. So I was up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you'd have a break in the morning, and you'd have a break in the afternoon. So you keep coming back. And then the book arrived, and I just started working the book. So I taught myself how to cook for 110 staff with the different knowledges that I'd sort of, you know, collected along the way.
That's
And then
how did you end up at that place? Because you were here, right?
That was just totally one accident after another, and that is not how I became a chef. While we're on the subject of how I became a chef, because when I got back to Australia after going to New Zealand and mucking around a bit, I came back and I was working at dairy farmers and doing the night shift and sort of supplying all the milkos with their milk crates and all the stuff. And then I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'll go back to electronics. So I enrolled in electronic engineering at university. Of course, that's how you become a chef. It's a very clear pathway. So after I did that, I had to wait because I had about a 3-month wait until the actual course started. So it was just before Christmas and the course didn't start until February or whatever it was, late February, the following year. So I think it might have been late November when I'd sort of put the enrollment in and been accepted. And then the guy who I used to work for in Paddington, he sort of rang me up, found the phone number of the family home, rang me up and said, I've just bought a restaurant in Kirribilli. He said, how would you like to be my chef? And I said, well, I'm not really a chef. I've only been doing this. And he said, yeah, but you've always been like a sponge. And that's how I became a chef.
Okay.
So I was 21, just going on 22. And I was head chef of this sort of 80-seater restaurant, which was frequented by all the Channel 9 and Channel 7 and actors, celebrities. It was like very, very on-trend restaurant in Kirribilli.
Okay.
And that was the start of my career as a chef. So there's a bit of a journey there.
Exactly. So you started as a kitchen hand because your brother worked there.
Yeah.
And from that day till the day you started working at the restaurant in Kirribilli.
Yep.
How far was that apart?
5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so you went across.
Yeah.
You worked at so many places as kitchen hand.
Yeah.
You managed a team of 100, worked for 100.
Yeah.
And then you finally decided, okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning from experience.
Yeah.
That's the best teacher, I feel. Yeah.
And then I was just ready to leave.
Yeah.
After about a year. And because I'd met someone on Dunk Island and they worked in the Cypress Anvil mines in the Yukon. And I contacted them and they'd organised me to get a cook's job in Canada or in the Yukon. So I put my resignation in. The owner didn't want me to leave, so he decided I needed an interest. So he put an advert in the paper for a first-year apprentice. He only sent the prettiest ones in for me to interview. And long story short, that was my wife for the last 40-something years.
Okay. So that's how
And that's how I stayed in the industry as a chef.
Because of her.
Well, otherwise I don't know where the next journey would have taken me because I was sure I would have been distracted by something else. Like a kid in a candy shop, there's always something prettier to sort of run after.
So I'm sure, it's been a long journey for you from that day that you decided that, okay, I finally want to become a chef.
Well, I could have done 2 apprenticeships in that period of time for sure.
Exactly. But it's so many things have changed. Anything particular that you significantly remember from that time? Like when you were trying different things and then finally decided to become the chef?
There was a lot of people doing what I did.
Okay.
A lot of chefs in Sydney that had celebrity status in the 80s and 90s did exactly what I did. You know, some of them have been teachers, some of them have been all these other different things. I knew though, some have been lawyers. And then they fell into cooking, they loved it, and then, they became very good at it. And some of them became celebrities, some still are today, very leading celebrity chefs. Never did the apprenticeship path, did that sort of one that I did, which is, sometimes, it was made up. It was just one of those things. Yeah, absolutely.
So you grew up the ladder quite quick, right?
Well, I was basically a head chef, very, very young.
Exactly.
According to what people would be these days. But I knew how to hire good sous chefs. So all the sous chefs I hired over that period of time were always at my level and above. In fact, mostly they were about 4 times my level. And so that was a skill that I learnt, and I didn't have to read books about how to hire people. I knew that if I had someone that could teach me how to be a head chef, I could learn a lot faster.
Right.
And so some of them would stay for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but I was there 18 months during that journey. So they taught me how to be a chef. So that's how I did my apprenticeship, with some really, really good. It was like 3 really good sous chefs in a row, all of them sort of between the age of 30 and 45. So they had a lot of experience with them, and they'd all been in very good restaurants. Some had owned their own restaurants. And I don't know what they thought when they walked in and saw me and met this madman.
Did you find any mentor when you started this journey?
These were my mentors. Yeah. These were my mentors. I found mentors as I went. I tell people these days, go and find someone who's where you want to be and ask them how they got there and then go and do it. Well, I didn't know all that. I was just pedaling hard and running hard, and I was living pretty hard too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Did you like something that they said or taught you that time, these mentors of yours, has something that has still, I mean, it's a part of your journey all through these years?
Oh, there's lots of little things. I mean, there's little things like, how to make a sabayon for a hollandaise so that it lasts.
Yeah.
There's little things. There's things that you just never forget. Even when I was working at Le Fait de Coeur in Townsville, I learned how to make choux pastry and make profiteroles. And, I'll never forget all these little tiny things because I had so many people.
Yeah.
There was like literally so many people that taught me stuff everywhere I went.
Yeah.
And I was a bit of a sponge, so I sucked it all up.
That's actually a good learning technique.
Yeah. I didn't know it was.
Yeah. Just observe and grasp as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I guess I was too stupid to know that I should have been afraid.
No, but that worked out well for you.
Yeah. Well, it did. Yeah, it could have gone either way though.
Yeah, but I mean, let's see the positive side of it.
Yeah.
So from head chef to executive chef, how was your journey? And
well, it didn't really start there.
Okay.
Because after I'd been there for 18 months and I'd had all these sous chefs teaching me, I sort of thought I really got to start at the bottom somewhere. So there was a place in Sydney called the Manor House at Balmain. And they called it the BNOOTT, the big night out over the top. That's what Schofield called it in those days. So this was the restaurant that people aspired to be able to afford to take their partners to. It had 3 Rolls Royces and a stretch limo as their pickup cars, which were included in your service.
That's bougie.
So you're talking grand pianos, violins, tuxedos, crystal. This was the place that people aspired to go to. So I came in there as the vegetable chef. I went from head chef to vegetable chef in this upmarkety sort of restaurant.
What I've never came across.
I had to make 6 vegetables every day for silver service.
Okay.
So they had to look good on a silver platter. And that was all I had to do.
Okay.
But I'm a fast ladder climber. So within 6 months, I was the dessert chef or the pastry chef because I'd learned a bit of pastry stuff in Townsville, and I learned a bit more pastry stuff on Dunk Island from different people. So each time you sort of learn stuff, you accumulate it. And they gave me a go. And, we had to have 12 desserts every day, and some would stay, some would change. And, I read books. I had Le Nottre's pastries and candies. I had all these cookbooks, and I just kept reading cookbooks and just kept, I was at the cookery book at Crow's Nest all the time, buying books, sucking them up. And then I was getting a bit antsy after about 2 years doing that. So the restaurant I used to be at, the owner of it said, "Look, I'm just doing a lunch restaurant now." He said, "You want to be my head chef?"
You want to be my head chef.
So I said, "Well, look, I can do it, but I've got to be gone by 2:30. And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because I'm a pastry chef at this other restaurant." So I started at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And
I was the head chef at this restaurant in Kirribilli.
Okay. The same
one. Yeah. And then I would jump on my bike or on my car, whatever I had at the time, and then rush to the next restaurant, and then I'd do the desserts and do that till like 11 o'clock at night.
Oh my God.
Or 12 o'clock, whatever it was when I finished that.
Yeah.
And then the owner chef came up to me one day and he said, "I don't want you coming in tired all the time." He said, "I'm going to make you sous chef." And I said, "Well, how much money are you going to give me? Because I'm earning all this other money." And he told me a bucket he was going to give me. And back in those days, it was all black money.
Yeah.
So that was easy. And I took the position as a sous chef. And then I guess that's really the start of my journey when I started to take it seriously, because then it was like 5 years of doing that.
Right.
Although there was a bit of an interruption.
Yeah.
Because I decided when I was getting towards the end of it, I thought I'd like to be a psychologist.
Okay.
So I enrolled in psychology at Macquarie Uni.
Okay.
Because that's part of how you become a chef. And for the next few years, I was sort of spending 2 days a week going to uni.
Okay.
5 days a week. Being the sous chef, and then the opportunity to be exec chef came up.
Yeah.
And so I took that position, and I was the exec chef at that restaurant for the next 3.5 years, which was, back in those days, it was right up the top 10 in sort of Australia. And it was great. I had a radio show with 2GB with John Radler. It was Radler's recipes with Paul Rifkin of the Manor House. So it was a lot of fun. Every Friday I'd sort of rock up with a plate of food and we'd talk about it, and I'd put my recipes on, and he'd say that he had the most amount of people asking for recipes in the history of the program.
You mentioned that you learned a lot and you read a lot of cookbooks. Any cookbook that you want to recommend to our viewers?
Well, whatever makes you think outside the square that you're in. And you've really got to hunt for things if you're looking for stuff that's going to make a difference, because I can't tell you what's going to make the difference.
Right.
You have to know what you're seeking. Like today, there's a lot of books. Back then, there wasn't a lot of books. I mean, there was the classic ones, I had the repertoire. The modern person wouldn't be able to read the repertoire because the repertoire has got nothing in it. It's literally only got the guidelines. You've got to really have some idea about what you do, unless you've got the Escoffier's full-blown version, but only had the little micro version. Okay. And so from that, it's literally just got the ingredients and very simple stuff in there. Oh, okay. And then if you want to follow that, but the basics haven't changed. Everybody's got sort of hung up on all this going too fancy and trying to reinvent the wheel. But customers haven't changed. There's still 25% are very adventurous, 75%, they just want what they used to get. Right. They want comfort. They want to know that they're going to get consistently whatever you're going to give them, and it's always going to be there. And it's going to be comfort food. My best sells never changed. In all the restaurants and all the years over decades, the customers always wanted the same thing. It didn't really vary as much as people think it's going to. Yeah.
That's actually food for thought.
Well, there's too many people out. There's too many chefs out there writing menus for themselves or writing menus for their reviewers. But they've got to write it for the customers. They're forgetting what they're there for. It's not I can do this or the reviewer said to do that. I had it once in one restaurant in Parramatta, and the reviewer in the Good Food Guide had said this thing was like blah, 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 slop, slop, slop. Yeah. And the owner of the restaurant said to me, he said, well, we have to get rid of this because in the review it said this, and this. And then I pointed out to him that we sold 2,000 of those between the two restaurants. We had two 250-seat restaurants that I was exec chef of. And I said, we sold 2,000 units of that in the last month. Did you really want to get rid of that dish? Because clearly that's what customers come for.
Yeah, because of that one review.
Yeah, he said, oh, we'll just leave it alone then. Because people there's too much knee jerk to what other people say. Most people don't know their customers. They spend so much time trying to create stuff that no one wants, and then they lose customers. Restaurants open and close all the time. Yeah. What did they get right? Well, look at the restaurants that are doing it right. Look at the restaurants that are still going. Look at the ones that are there 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. And have a look how much they varied stuff. Yeah. Have a look. Did they experiment everything to death? Or did they stick to the basics, stick to the sequence of service, stick to customer service, stick to what? What's the experience supposed to be?
While you were telling me about this, I just went back. So I come from India.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of street food there, multiple options. There have been so many street food vendors. Generations of them have been selling the same exact food. They have been listening to the customers.
Yeah.
Keeping it consistent.
Yeah.
And delivering what they want.
And I was just there in India only like about October. So,
Yeah.
so literally, 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was there on the street food. I was having Madeira tea at like 5 o'clock in the morning by the guy who'd been doing it. He'd been doing it himself for 40 years.
Yeah.
His father been doing it for 40 years.
Exactly.
His father been doing it for 40 years. And the recipe has never changed.
And people still love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, and I went, look, I had some horrible pakoras. I had some wonderful pakoras.
Yeah.
Some are, you can tell when they've been mass produced and they're just redoing it. They're not real street vendors.
Yeah.
They're just resellers.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you go to the ones that had been doing it for a long, long time, it's just true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stick
look,
to what you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
While you were telling me about that you were an executive chef, what kind of cuisines that you specially worked on? Or was it a multi-cuisine place?
Oh, everything was lots of things because we back at the Manor House, it was international French cuisine, I suppose. After that, I did a number of hotels, which had multiple different cuisines. 4.5-star hotels, you're dealing with customers, you're dealing with conferences, there's all sorts of things you're dealing with. I was doing modern Australian with the Barnaby's restaurants when there was one at Parramatta, one at Lansdowne, and doing that. And then after that, I was at the Olympics.
Okay, that's interesting. But before we go to Olympics, which cuisine did you enjoy, honestly, cooking the most?
I enjoyed all of it. Yeah, I mean,
but there's always a soft corner for...
No, not really. No.
Okay,
I mean, what I like to eat, that varies too.
Yeah.
It's like when I found that I didn't like sour things as much. So I went to South America and I ate right across South America because they use a lot of lime, they use a lot of sour, they use a lot of all these sorts of things. Yeah. And I forced myself to just saturate my taste buds in all of the stuff from Ushuaia down in the bottom of the world, up to Lima and do all the Michelin restaurants that were sort of in all these different places, and also do all the street food, and then also do the mid-range food in all of them, right across Argentina, Lima, Chile, Brazil. So then I like lime. So what do I like to cook with? It's always evolving. And when you have a lot of things in your quiver, it's like there's a lot of stuff that excites you.
Yeah.
So it's, personally, I just like something simple. But I'm easily excited by stuff I don't understand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was in a good restaurant in Wollongbar only a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the menu, and it's a chef-hatted restaurant in the middle of, it's out in the bush basically. And I was like, I don't know if I want this, don't know that. Anyway, the owner came up and I said, I'm not sure what to have. And she said, we can make a little selection for you. And I said, that'd be wonderful. Before I knew it, I'm having a 10-course degustation for lunch.
Okay.
But I've done that. I've done that in Singapore as well at Burnt Ends. I said, look, we're going to another restaurant for dinner. It's late in the afternoon, but I really want to try some of your things. And the chef goes, look, we'll just put something together. So, another 10 or 12 course degustation came out over the next 2 hours. We had an hour between that and the next restaurant where we went to another degustation.
Have you received a order like this when you were a chef in the kitchen?
What, where people have asked for stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Customers have quite often sort of said in the past, what I want this, I want that. I mean, I remember Burt Lancaster, the famous sort of actor, and he was in the restaurant, and the waiter had gone up and down, I think 3 or 4 times, and they were trying to work out what he wanted. In the end, I walked up to the table, and what he wanted was something just basic, He literally just wanted a prawn cocktail. So he wanted something really basic. I just wanted to make sure that if I did it, it was going to be done well.
Yeah.
And that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. You can do simple well. A lot of people think simple is simple.
Yeah.
But simple can be, it can be really good if every element of it is very good.
Yeah. You have to get there with that simplicity.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you were telling me before I interrupted you about Olympics.
Yeah.
More about that.
Well, that was exciting. I wanted to go to the Olympics. And so I contacted Peter Wright, who was the exec chef of it. And I sort of loosely knew him, got an interview with him. I said what I wanted, said how much money I wanted to get. He said, well, only way I can give you that much money is if you do this night shift. And so six nights a week from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., that was my position, sort of doing the village. And obviously there was the setup beforehand, and there was between the main Olympics and the Paralympics. So, but that was fabulous. You'd sort of, start work at 9 p.m. I only lived across the river, so for me it was like a 5-minute drive to get there. So I wasn't like most people.
Like a dream.
Yeah, it was fabulous, and I could park like literally right outside the village.
Yeah.
So it was like crazy. 5 minutes to work. Oh, here we go. I'm at work, and then you'd get 5,000 to 10,000 people through the night. There was 50 or 60 chefs in the kitchen. Cooking things, and there was a lot of fun and games that happened, and I can't speak too much out of school, but but all I can say is there's a lot of chefs that worked with me at that time that I still know, and we're still industry sort of friends, buddies, colleagues. Some I didn't remember, but then they said, I was in the kitchen with you for like 8 weeks. And I'm like, I didn't notice you. I mean, there was 500 chefs on the books.
Yeah.
So you can't remember everybody.
Yeah, right.
I even had one in Chicago come up to me. Where was I? I was in Chicago. I was at the National Restaurant Association show a couple of years ago, and I was on the bus going from the hotel to the show, and there was a guy sitting across the row from me, and he just kept looking at me, and I was thinking, that's a bit strange. And then he said, "Is your name Rifkin?" and I said, "Yeah." He said, "I worked with you at the Olympics." And that was it. He was part of the Aramark group that came across from America to sort of assist with the Spotless group, and they were the combined Spotless Aramark was the catering organisation. Okay. So there you go. I mean, that's how hospo's so amazing. Yeah. Friendships all over the world. Some are solid, some are friendly, some are colleagues. There's always people there for you to give you advice. It's just one of those industries that it's just not like a lot of other industries. There's just so much support for those who stay. You got to stay. You got to stay and be part of it. You can't bag it and then expect people to come and support you.
Yeah.
And there's got to be more of that support of the industry. People have got to grow the industry. So people who have been in it in a while and have been looked after like myself, you've got to say that, it's a great industry. Speak it up. Get people to come into it, because it is. It's whatever you make it to be. There's so many that have done really well at it, and it's a great way and an outlet for passion and all those sorts of things. So so I'm always positive about it, regardless of what happened to me or anybody else.
Yeah. So about Olympics, it's a huge event in itself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there might be a lot of challenges while you were working there. Anything that helped you learn a lot there, or something that stayed with you, any experience? Because I'm sure, were you working in the retail kitchen, or was it for the restaurants in there, or how was it?
The village. The village. So the village is the main dining room. It's it's a U-shaped dining room that does about 60,000 meals a day.
Okay.
So that's where all the athletes went. Okay. Yeah.
So it must be like nutritional based food. Right?
Look, the menus and all that was set. We just cooked. We just cooked what was on the list.
Okay.
But at 4 a.m, you had Olympians coming in who'd been out partying all night. All different ones, and you'd be making pizzas and having good conversations with drunks, and it was like there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun. It was you observed a lot of stuff. There was a lot of people milling around in the dining room through the nights, and we got to interact a lot with the different people, which was really good. Yeah.
So you have been in this industry for clearly a long time.
A little bit longer than some.
Yeah.
not as long as everybody else.
Yeah.
I work with some that are 76, 77 and still working as a head chef. So no, not as long as some.
What kind of changes have you seen through these years?
It's become a better industry.
How so?
How so? Because it's now people care about the chefs, they care about their working conditions, they care about proper pay. There's never been a better time in the history of cookery since Escoffier's days to enter the industry. Yeah. Because you can come into it today and you can be paid correctly and you can have your mental health catered for. Yes, there's a lot of work to be done in various kitchens. There's a lot of people that are still, think that they can run it like an army brigade and really push people too far and demand long hours and all these sorts of things. And I go out there and I try and teach chefs not to work long hours. How do you not work long hours? put controls in place, delegate activities, trust the people you've delegated to, train them correctly,
Obviously,
and then they get it wrong, train them again. They're always going to mess it up.
Yeah.
But you don't not do it because of that, and then you do it yourself. So then you're not really the exec chef. You don't have controls, you are controlled.
Right.
You are the one who is now the slave to your own industry, and you're working 80 hours a week to achieve what? And if you're a boss and you're a CEO or you're a general manager and you're demanding that of your people and you don't care about their work-life balance, then your model's wrong. Because there are restaurants, there are businesses out there, there's clubs, there's all sorts of things out there that are running businesses where staff are not working crazy hours and they're not losing money. Like, it comes down to how you put it together.
100%.
Yes, there's a lot of tight things to run. There's many different ways to sort of put these things together, and every business is different and every requirement is going to be different. But you've got to work backwards. You got to say, this is what we want people to work. This is the life that we want people to have. This is the freedom we want them to have. We want them to be able to go to their family functions if they need to go to a family function. We want them to be able to enjoy stuff. You don't want to hear stories of I had to miss out on everything my whole life because of my passion. Yeah, do it when you're young. That's fine. But when you got family, and if you don't listen to those people and they leave, and you think that by getting another younger person who's who's going to work long hours is the solution, you're crackers. Because what you've done is you've thrown 20, 30, 40 years of experience into the bin, and you've replaced it with a junior, and then you're bitching because everything's slow and bad. And you think you've got a solution. So there has to be a lot more flexibility. And I think that's probably the best change that's happened. And it's still, people are getting dragged like kicking and screaming into it. and I deal with businesses all the time, and I say to them, look, this is what's happening. You can't have it happening. You can't have everybody doing a split shift all the time. Yeah. They're spending 16 hours on site. How is that family life? You want them unhappy so that they come to work, they're grizzly, they work because they have to, because there's a ball and chain on their mortgage and car and all the other crap they got.
It's going to reflect on the food that they make.
Well, yeah, but how do you know?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. That's the thing. The thing is that people they end up in a prison, and then it's like a badge of honor for the chef. Oh, I worked 100 hours. Oh, look at me. I worked through the night to get this ready, and I did this and I did that. I mean, so what?
Gone are the days.
Well, I never, apart from the time when I was sort of doing head chef and that at the same time, and that was just me being a smarty pants to have some sort of leverage.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I never did crazy hours. Never. I always found a way not to do it. And I've been a exec chef for about 35 years. So I've been in charge most of my life. People don't understand that. Like, you can't be in charge most of your life and have been bad all the time. You need to keep people. I had first year apprentices that would, for the next 10 years later, they would be my head chefs. They'd stay with me 10 years, 15 years, 16 years. I mean, some would come and work for me, come back and work for me. At another venue as my sous chef, or one of my outlets, one of my restaurants, there'd be one of my sous chefs or my head chef. Yeah. You have to care. I mean, I get excited when I see an apprentice these days who was an apprentice of mine like 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, and I see the new position they've got, the head chef of this hotel or that hotel, or they've gone out on their own, and I send them a little message on, Instagram, or, because you can see everything now.
It's a good feeling.
It is. Yeah. And I'm so proud of you, and you can do
it. And you just spoke about dealing businesses. So you moved from being a chef to being a consultant chef.
There was a big thing in between. I was at the Campbelltown Catholic Club for 17
years.
Yeah. So during that period, the business grew exponentially, and we opened a lot of restaurants, built a convention center, a hotel, took on a golf club. Yeah. In the end, there was about 3,500 seats. Doing about $11 million trade. 11 or 13,000 meals a week. There was probably 150 people working in catering. A lot of people, but the turnover rate for my kitchen and crew was not large.
What kind of role? Like, I know it was an executive role at that club, but you helped grow the businesses, you strategized for them. So how different
I was
it?
everything. I was the purchasing officer, the catering officer. I was the hiring person. I did cost control, strategy. I designed kitchens, designed restaurants. I designed concept. I had 21 menus running at one stage. You just grow. You just do.
Yeah.
You find a way and do it.
17 years at the same place is quite a long time.
Well, when it was, I left.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to build any more restaurants, and I knew that we'd built a lot and we'd taken on a lot, and I was pretty proud of what I'd done.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was another level to go to, but it was, as I like to say, I was like a 747 pilot. I was at cruising altitude and it was time to get out.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I left, and I just, cut it. And then someone said to me, "You'd make a really good consultant with all the knowledge that you've gained over the years." So I said, "How much can I charge? Who'd pay me?" And he said, "Oh, well," gave me these things. And of course, you don't have confidence when you've just come from a lifetime of employment. And all of a sudden you're going to go out there and put your little flag up and say, pick me. What are you offering? I don't know. So,
you tell me.
Well, I did. I just made stuff up.
Yeah.
I'd go and I said, I'm going to do an audit and have a look at your business. And I would come in and look at their business, and then they'd say, "So what happens next?" And I'm sitting there in that same conversation going, "What happens next?" Well, funny you should ask that. I've actually got this mentoring program. And I just made it up. I literally just made it up. And right then and there, he said, "So can you send me a proposal for that?" I went home, did a proposal. He was only about 20 minutes from where I lived. So it was the first consultant was pretty good because it was very close. Yeah. And I brought it back the next day. He looked at it. It had some sort of, number with lots of O's after it. I'll be on site 2 days a week for the next, whatever it is. Yeah. And he said, "Sounds good. Let's do it."
Okay, that was easy.
That was it, and then I was doing it. And then from that, of course, I developed every time I did something. I've done about 73 clubs now. So each time I've done one, what I do has grown, it's developed, it's changed. I mentor a lot of places, and I've been a lot of places all over Australia. And I go back on a regular basis, some are every 6 weeks, every 3 months, every 8 weeks, every month. They're all different. All got different requirements. Some run for 3 months, some run for 6 months, some run for 12 months. Others are indefinite. I'm back every 3 months, regardless, and I've been doing it for years and years and years. And they just want their team to be on target all the time. And, I'm sort of like a cleaner ass. I come in, make sure it's all good, and then get them back on target. Yeah. And that's a role and a hole that I've sort of found and made it work. Because consultants ask me all the time, "I want to be a consultant. How do you do it?" I go, "I don't know." I go, "You got to work out what you want to do."
What were your observations when you were doing? Because you might come across a lot of different kind of businesses with different cuisines, their different aspirations. What was that commonality amongst it, or what was the uniqueness amongst it?
People.
Yeah, obviously.
No, that is what's common. The thing is, everything is people. If things aren't there, it's because of people. If things are there, it's because of people. If things are good, it's because of people. If things aren't, if they're good, they're bad, whatever they are, it's because of people. So you've got to work out who the people are, what are the gaps, and how do they get there? How do they get to where they need to get to? So that's all I do. It's really, really simple in a nutshell. So all those consultants out there, you got to run with it. I'm not sure that they'll be able to see exactly what I can with my eyes and all the years of experience and all that. And the hard slog, it's a hard slog, my path. Doing an apprenticeship is like a shoehorn. You get pushed into it. I had to fight and scratch. Like there was no one helping me. There was no easy way. Yeah. I was literally falling over, bloody my nose and bouncing higher each time and working out how to get to the top without even knowing I was getting there. But at a certain point, I read a lot of books. Yeah. The view at the top is great. There's so many books out there. Yeah. And a mentor who said to me, "You got to read a metre of books to make you a metre taller." Yeah. And then after I read them, I said, "I've read them." He said, "Good, go read them again." I said, "Why? I already read them." He said, "Oh, second time they put new information in them."
Yeah.
These are more important things for chefs to read, to know about personalities, how to give an instruction in 4 languages. 4 different personalities or groups of them. You know, you can't tell everybody the same thing and expect them to follow it. So a chef needs to know how to talk. A staff meeting is usually unproductive because there's only one quarter listening to you. All the others are listening and they hear different things, you know, and one quarter hears nothing. So that was a total waste of time. So you got to work out how to pigeonhole them and how to get them into their groupings and what language to use, you know, whether it's sort of like do it or we're going to do it because, why, I'll hold your hand or we're going to start the process. So everybody needs something different. And a good chef manager, that's what makes, doesn't matter what cuisine. You know, I go into Chinese restaurants in contractors where only the person who's in charge is speaking English. No difference. I can still work with those teams. Makes no difference. I've been in Italian, Greek, where most of the kitchen don't speak English. No difference. It doesn't make any difference because there's still people and you can still work out how to get things done and what the gaps are and what needs to be done. And more importantly, how do you get people to do it? Because any monkey can say, these are the gaps, you know? There's tons of people out there going, these are the gaps, this is what you need to do. Go and do it. You know, it's a typical bean counter. Yeah. But it's not real because there's people, you know, chefs are people. Yeah. Instructions go to people. They come from people and they're to help people. Customers are people. And until people understand, you're not going to get change. You know, it's very simple, really. It's so simple. I don't know why they write books on this stuff.
But yeah, as you mentioned earlier, it's very less amount of people who appreciate simplicity today, I feel, and maybe keeping things simple is more difficult now. Is it?
I think it comes down to what the requirement, what the instruction is. Yeah. I don't know if people know what they want. You know, like people come into all different types of things. You know, there's only a small amount that are really hungry and want to get to the top, and most of those won't go there. They won't go there because they won't pay the price. Yeah. So they want to go to the price. They want to go to the top. Lip service. I want to be a millionaire. Lip service. I want to own this. Lip service. You know, what's the price you've got to pay to get it? What's the process you've got to do to get it? You know, how do you keep relationships together? How do you do anything in life? Everything comes with a cost. And, you know, is that simplicity? I think it's just back to basics personally. Yeah.
Did you miss being like actual chef because you moved your roles to a consultant? So you were teaching more or were you actually cooking it? Because you worked in the kitchen for a long time. Yeah. And then you moved out. So did you low-key miss being a chef?
No, because I go back as a mentor. I work with them. Yeah. I'm in kitchens, you know, like as many as I accept because I like to be on holidays a lot. So, so I have to sort of arrange my consultancy around my lifestyle. Yeah. You know, other people say, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, well, go and do it. like literally, you know, you want to do it, go and do it. Set it up. You know, I was told when I went into consultancy, I said to a friend who's a consultant for many years, I said, what do I charge? He said, how much do you want to earn? And I said, I don't understand the question. He said, well, work out how much you want to earn in a year and then work out how many days you want to work and then just divide the two together and that'll tell you what you're going to charge. That's
a nice math.
Exactly. And I only want to work 25 to 30% of the time. So you see, so I thought, oh, well, I'll put the flag up and see who brings me home. Yeah. But look, I think it's like anything. It depends what you want to do. If you focus on what you're doing rather than the money, it'll happen. Yeah. But you've got to start with the end goal at the beginning. Like mine was lifestyle. I didn't want to be employed. I didn't want to go to work when I had to. I wanted to go to work when I wanted to. And, you know, and I wanted to do it the way I wanted to do it. And I'm in kitchens. I'm in kitchens all the time. You know, I've just been in one for 3 days up in wherever I was, somewhere up north. Yeah. And, you know, they're telling me what they're doing and I'm saying, oh, look, if you did this with the belly and you did that with that and you did the smoking like this, I'd say these are the differences you would get. And they're hungry. They're like, oh, write that down, you know. They're taking photos of my phone because they don't have an Apple, so I can't send them across to them. And, you know, and then I'm texting stuff. And and they're hungry for stuff, you know, and then they're thanking me for it when I leave and saying, you know, thanks for coming, chef. You really inspired us to sort of, you know, reach a different level. We didn't know all these things. So no, that's as good as being the exec chef working in a kitchen, you know, 5 days a week, or if you're exec chef, you're working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day in your head. You don't have to physically be there, but in your head, you're always there.
Speaking of holidays, through the conversation, you told me that you have been to a lot of different places across the globe. What was that one thing? I'm sure like you mentioned South America, you've been to India. All of them are like big time. They have Lord on their cuisine, on the different palettes everywhere. So what was your learning through all of this? What did you bring back from those holidays which helped you become the consultant chef that you are today?
Well, I'm learning about what food is in different cultures. You know, like when you're going into the coalface, you're going to Valparaiso in sort of Chile, and you know, you're seeing the way they do the food there. Or you're going to Ushuaia and you're seeing the lamb from the bottom of the world, where it's like crazy good lamb cooked on open fires, and you're seeing and tasting stuff differently. You're seeing the way the population react to it as well, and you know, seeing how they treat spices and all these other sorts of things. You know, I've eaten in people's homes in India, in China, in Nepal, and you know, in Tanzania, in South Africa, and all these different places right through South America. I've always made it a point to sort of find my way into people's homes and eat real cuisine. You know, eat
that's
stuff
where the best meals are.
Not always the best, but the thing is that but you can see the authentic stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Authentic. Most authentic ones. Yeah.
So, you know, what do you learn from it all? Well, everything's adding. Everything's always adding to stuff. You know, meeting the people, meeting the populations, meeting the cultures, learning their religions. You know, I love seeing all the way different people's cultures are and how and why they do things. And you look at some things and you go like, well, that seems a bit bloody odd, you know. But then, you know, I'm in a Sikh temple in Old Delhi. And I've gone through and I'm in there sitting on the ground having food, you know, and they're taking me in and into the kitchen and doing the tour and showing me, and you know, I'm meeting all the voluntary cooks that are in there serving the 5,000 to 10,000 meals for that day, and you know, and tasting what real stuff tastes like, what dal tastes like when it's not made to be fancy, it's just made to be nutritious. And you're like, this is so good. Yeah. And you're watching the flatbreads getting made, and they're just getting punched out, and you're like, this is so good. It was like dough a few minutes ago, and it's in my mouth at the moment. So yeah, there's so many learnings, you know, drinking a banana beer in Tanzania, and banana beer. Okay. Yeah. If you can't make banana beer, you don't get a wife. They choose their husbands by that. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. All these different cultures have got different things that you sort of learn from them. And look, I love the challenge of traveling. I mean, I like to do a lot of climbing in mountains. So, you know, like the Himalayas, sort of Everest Base Camp, or, you know, Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, sort of hiking for 8 hours through a -20 blizzard in knee-deep snow, and arriving at the top dehydrated and delirious and taking the selfie with the phone that just dies straight after that because of the cold weather and the batteries don't work. And, you know, and then hallucinating for the next 22 hours as I'm walking down and falling over everywhere. And you get to the bottom and you go, oh, wow, this is amazing. You know, and that actually inspired me to leave and resign, because I went, if I can do this, I can do anything. I've got to find out what else I can do.
And these experiences teach you a lot.
Yeah.
Like traveling to places, learning new cuisines, or even the cultures there. It helps you a lot, especially I'm sure in consultancy, when you're not just like one cuisine restaurant that you're helping out. There are so many people, as you mentioned, people.
But that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Like, you've got individuals who are cooks and you know, whether they be street cooks or whatever they are, and they're producing something which is done with uniformity and consistency. And that's all customers want, you know? I mean, McDonald's are really good at it. They make I'm not going to say what level it is, but it's below 50%. But they do it consistently.
Yeah.
You know, when you go there, you're going to get this thing it's at this level. You know, it's not going to be a 100% burger.
Yeah.
But it's going to do 49 or 32. You tell me. But the thing is, it's mostly going to be the same.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference, as you said, with the street sellers.
Yeah.
Same thing. And busy restaurants that are still going today. That's the difference. Is they've been consistent the whole way.
Yeah.
You know, if they only have 2 things on the menu, they didn't listen to everybody and put 20 things on the menu. They just had 2 things on the menu because that's what customers wanted. So,
what did food mean to you back then, and how different is it for you today?
Food?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
So, you never planned on becoming a chef?
No, not at all.
So I'm sure food meant differently to you. Like, you know, when you look at food or you work with it.
No, I always liked food. My mother was a very good cook. You know,
Okay.
she used to make beautiful ice cream. She had 8 children. She used to cook so much. We never appreciated it, of course. You know, we just wanted, give us our food, give us our food. We didn't, you know, it wasn't that we had that appreciation of food. But the thing is that everything she did, it was good. You know, she'd put herb butters underneath the skin of the chicken on the breast, and you know, like there was little things that she'd learnt. You know, she was French. She'd learnt how to cook. She'd learned how to do things, and she was passing that on. So I guess it was in my blood to sort of do it. My grandfather owned restaurants in Washington DC, and he was from Brittany, so you know he was a restaurateur. So it was in our blood to sort of someone to go into it. You know, 2 of my sons became chefs.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter manages restaurants. You know, in Singapore. I mean, and she's been on the road for 17 years, sort of living overseas and manage restaurants all over the world.
You must be a proud dad.
Well, everybody's proud of whatever their kids do, you know.
Obviously,
Success is in the eye of
No,
whatever the person wants to be.
They're walking the same route that you are. So
And not necessarily, because both boys aren't chefs anymore. They've both got other things, they do other trades. But when the 3 of us get together, man, I tell you what, we can cook. You know, we did that. They all flew up to our place the other weekend for my wife's birthday, and we just went crackers with food. You know, and it was amazing. It was like running a restaurant because there was all these customers and there was food going out all over the place, which was the friends. You know, we had one of our nieces who was sort of nephews. He was waitering the food, and you just knew that the boys were going to produce amazing stuff, and I was sort of, you know, pretending to be in charge, but not really.
Yeah,
but
in prep,
but in prep, you know, it was seeing the knife skills. You know, they were trained very, very well, and you know. One had been a chef for 10 years, one for 15 years. So they had a lot of skills, you know. So it's, you know, but you're proud of your kids. Whatever, if they achieve what they want to achieve, you know, that's all you can be.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite memory from your time in the kitchen from all these years? Like the one memory that you go back, you laugh about it, or it just makes you feel so good about it?
Good or bad?
Anything, but it's still there. You always remember that one time.
There's a lot.
Which
probably the one that shows how you control and stay calm, which you don't know you're doing at the time. But I probably had about 250 people in a function room at a hotel. Power went off. Power goes off. Gas goes off. Funnily enough, they align the 2 together to protect each other or something. So you got no gas, no power. You're only on emergency lighting. The function room, of course, it just looks normal because it's got emergency lighting, which just looks like the place is in nice mood lighting. All the people are happy. They're all drinking and carrying on. And you haven't even served the entree yet. And you need to cook. So you're like trying to solve the problem. And when you realize this is not going to be a problem that's going to be solved, so what you've done is you've lined up chafing dishes all the way along the kitchen. You've got multiple burners underneath each chafing dish. You've run across the hotel and pulled the barbecue out from the other side. You've fired up the char grill and all the flat plates in the kitchen, which you've got the back door wide open because now, of course, you've got a secondary problem. You've got smoke, can't get out of the kitchen. Yeah. And then you're working out what's going to go in what to cook what. Because you've got to make sure that all these things are going to work. You know, you've drained the zip boiler because that had a little bit of hot water left in it. And then you've got trays of food that haven't even been cooked yet. And you're thinking, what am I going to do with this? So you run up, you have a look around, you see across the road, there's lights that are still on across the road, but your side of the road, there's no lights on. And you know there's a restaurant across the road. So we're talking a 6-lane road, Pennant Hills Road. Yeah. So you've got chefs and waiters running food across the road to another restaurant using their oven to cook food. Okay. And run the food across 6 lanes back to your thing.
That's a parade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've got vegetables lined up to get blanched in chafing dishes. You've got all these different things. You've got oil sitting in a pot on the char grill, trying to get it to the right temperature to fry these goods that need to be fried. And yeah, you just get control and do it. Yeah. And then at the end of it, nobody seems to notice.
Yeah. So the guests didn't know the whole time?
Well, they knew something was amiss because, the timings weren't exactly correct. So they knew something was wrong. But, things go wrong in kitchens. Yeah. But, no one really knew how bad things were. And to get through that, and that's not the only time. Like I've had ovens go down, I've had substations go down, I've had lots of things go down, gas go off. These are things that happen. Things happen continuously. How you respond to it is your chance of actually working your way through it. So if you panic, the team will panic. If you can be calm in your head and get those feet like in a duck in a pond going like crackers, but you got to be thinking like 110 mile an hour because you've got to be, see, problems mean nothing. I tell people all the time, a problem is just a problem. I can find problems anywhere. Solutions is what I look for. And so I have always looked for solutions. And that's what I try and teach people is only look for solutions. Problems will always appear. So you have a solution to stop a problem happening or to control a problem. And if you can do those two things, you can lead in any industry, basically. It doesn't matter. It doesn't be cookery. That's just standard sort of how to get things, how to get shit done sort of thing.
Yeah. Be solution oriented than be a crybaby.
Yeah, absolutely. But you got to keep the team calm.
Yeah. 100%.
Everybody around you has to know that you are in control.
And not run around like a headless chicken.
No. Anything you got to remember, if you give an instruction to someone, it'll be 80%. If they give the instruction, it'll be 80%. By the time you get to the fourth person, you're getting about 30% of what you asked for. So, but the thing is, it's the reverse when you are panicking. When you are panicking, they'll give 120%. And the next person will give 120% on top of it. So by the time it gets to the fourth person, they're actually going at about 4 times the pace you were going at. And so all of a sudden it's gone, we've got a problem we're all going to die. and I think that's where the exec chef or catering manager or CEO, whatever you are, if you're in hospitality, you got to get people calm.
Yeah.
If there's a complaint, this is the thing that really gets me. You get a complaint in a restaurant or in a hotel or whatever it is, they come into the kitchen and it's like they just drop vomit on the kitchen. They're just like, look at this thing, you screwed this up, they burnt this, blah, blah, blah. And you go, well, I did serve 500 meals and there was how many of these incidents? Oh, there was 2. Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's 0.001%. So let's get the response in relation to that. And let's make sure that we use this problem or complaint as a solution. Yeah. And that's the only thing that needs to be done, and a lot of restaurants have to learn that because they don't handle complaints with customers or with staff very well.
So moving to some fun questions now.
Oh, we haven't been having fun?
I mean, not related to your experience, but what you could potentially want to. So my first question would be like, if you were not going to be a chef, I mean, you took a lot of time to decide that, but if you were not a chef for all these years, would you rather be? Which profession would you rather? Because you have done psychology, you have done tech engineering.
Yeah, I've done photography too. I mean, I have my photo was sort of was in one of the most recognizable photos in the world. So look, I don't know. I did what I did. What could I have learned from what I did? I would have spent more time learning more about things than what I did. I spent so much time just sort of running and just enjoying what I was doing. So, yeah, I honestly don't know. You know, at one time I was going to be a doctor. Right. So, you know, would I have enjoyed that? I don't know. You know, you do what you do and you just get enjoyment out of it. You can't just go, oh, I wish I had it all over again. I'm going to be this. If you want to do it, go and do it. There's no reason why I can't start a career today. And I know people who are my age and are just starting their career today. Like literally, I've got a brother who's just finished his master's in psychology, and he's just started as an adolescent psychologist this year, and he's older than me.
That's interesting.
And most people are sitting back and going to the RSL and doing bowling at that age. So you can be whatever you want to be whenever you want to be it. You know, don't be like a flea in a box, you know, release yourself and do whatever you want to do, right. And don't have regrets, you know. Of course you would have done it differently. Yeah. But how? Well, you have to review that.
But for that, you got to do it first.
Absolutely. You just got to, it's all in the doing. You just got to do it. Do it and enjoy it and have fun with it. You know, I've always had fun.
Moving on to my next question. Which is that one dish that you could eat every single day?
Rice.
Just plain rice?
You surprise me. Make it saucy, make it saucy, make it fried, make it biryani, make it... Yeah. I mean, through India and Nepal, I was having biryani so many different ways. You know, I was having goat biryani done in clay pots, having goat biryani done this way, having all different types of biryani done, all different types of rice. You know, it's, for sure. Rice, definitely. I go to Singapore regularly. My daughter lives there, and I'll go to Little India there, and I go to biryani and have a biryani, and it's so good. Definitely. I like rice. I like, you know, go to a Thai restaurant and have rice. You know, go to a restaurant Indian restaurant that's got curries, and I'll just float the curry in the rice, and I don't need the meat. I just want the sauce and the rice.
Yeah. So anything. That's rice.
And sauce. And the sauce better have spice in it. Yeah. Spice. Not as much as I got in India one time, where it was just like, it was so spicy. I was like, it wasn't hot. It was just like so rich. Yeah. And I was like, I haven't had something this spicy before. It's like the levels of spice of this were just so ridiculously rich. You could eat them. It's like eating pure butter.
What was it?
I can't even remember. I was going to say, was it a korma or I can't remember now. All I know is it was crazy rich. And the next day I was walking around. I swear I'd eaten an elephant. It was, but I was eating it and I was like, this is so rich.
Yeah, but you still remember that.
I was having it. I had to drain the bowl. I was not going to give up on it. It was so nice, and the rice was perfect.
That's nice. I mean, with rice, you can actually try any cuisine. There's rice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So the next question, the last part of it, which is that dish or the cuisine that, you know, your family enjoys the most that you cook? Now that I know that you have chefs in your family, so you might be a little competitive there with them, but one thing that it's your dish, no matter which event, when?
Not one.
No one?
There's nothing. I've got nothing.
No, don't lie to me.
I'm that bloke. I'm going to tell you straight up. You could ask any of my kids or my wife, and there's not that one dish. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing that they would say that's what Dad's good at.
Oh, come on.
They just wouldn't. It doesn't exist. I am always trying different things, trying different methods. I'm always saying, you know, I'm just doing this. I've just tried this. You know, I went out and bought a pizza oven, and then I got into pizza doughs, and then I got into all different types of the doughs, and then I got into baking, and then I got into focaccias, and so I hadn't done that before ever. And then all of a sudden it became a thing. Yeah. So, and then I went, oh, wow, your dad's pizzas are so good. You're doing pizzas? And I'm like, no, I'm over that. So, you know, I'm down with my granddaughter. We're making pizzas down in Cooma. Yeah. And they're going, oh, these are so good. You know, and then sometimes they're not good. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't adjust the recipe for the different sort of cooking stuff. Yeah. So, look, it just is what it is. You know, food's the thing about bringing people together and having fun with. It's not a judgmental thing, you know. Too many people take it too seriously.
That brings me to the question, what is that piece of advice that you would want to give to the aspiring chefs or people who are just starting in this industry?
Just learn and do. If you go fast, you got more time to learn. Too many people want to go slow. Oh, I've got to peel all these carrots. Yeah, we used to have carrot races. Then we'd have zucchini races and mushroom races. You know, as an exec chef, I'd walk up to them and I go, let's have a race. And they go, look at me and they go, what are you, mad? You know, I didn't go to them, go faster. Yeah. I never did that. You know, if we had 300 or 400 spatchcocks to bone, I would never go to them, I want this done by a certain time. I would say, I race ya. You know, I'm talking about, like, you know, in my late 50s, I was doing that. I'd walk up and I'd say, I race you. And I'd go and we'd go it. And this guy would be going as fast as they could go. And they'd be going like, we're not catching up to him. We're not now I'm ahead. And you know what? They would have done it in half the time of what they would normally have done it. And I had a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to get people to do things. But if you go fast, you can learn things and you've got time to learn more things. And that's what it's about. And don't worry about what other people are doing, because there's always going to be others in the kitchen that are doing less than you. You know, they're going to give you a bad section. It's not set up and you're going to come in and go, oh, blah, I'm going to do this section. They didn't set it up properly. That's always going to happen. Get excited. Those people will never be your exec chefs. These people will never be leaders. These people will never be at the interview. And if they do, they'll never get the job. So if you can recognize that, manage it, accept it, get it done, and you will be always ahead of the curve. And that's the beauty. That's the beauty about any industry. If you do more than the other people, you go where others don't go. It's very simple. It's a cliche, but it's so true.
After such a long and successful journey, what keeps you motivated till today?
Inspiring other people. Yeah, the most exciting thing is to walk into a kitchen and work with a chef who is not achieving a whole range of targets, and then watching that change over whatever the time is that it takes to change and whatever the business wants to invest. So sometimes it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And when it drops, you know, when the exec chef stops getting distracted by other things and targets are set and met, and the business goes, it's amazing. I asked for a menu and it's done. I checked where the allergy plan was, it's done. I checked it's done. And they're like, this wasn't happening 12 months ago when you came on board. You know, we don't want the chef to go because they're really good. Yeah. You know, a lot of businesses have got good chefs who are just not achieving what they'd like them to achieve. And that is the most exciting things that I can do, is to see that result. And if it doesn't work, that doesn't upset me. That's their problem. It's not mine. I just go next. Yeah. Go to the next place. There's always going to be someone who wants to listen. And that's what I'm looking for.
That's beautiful. Bringing me to my last question. So you have worked all these years and you have basically done most of everything. You have learned not just being a chef, but you have done photography, as you mentioned, psychology. You've tried a lot of things. What are your next upcoming years look like?
Oh, I am so looking forward to it. I'm still waiting to work out what I'm going to do with my life. I am literally always looking to see what's going to happen next. Yeah. Because I know that I surprise myself. You know, I will turn a corner and all of a sudden I'll be up another mountain, or I'll be running left or running right. I don't know. I'm always listening. You know, my subconscious is always listening. I train it. I've trained it for decades to always listen for opportunities and always listen for other things. And you know, I don't know what it is, but there's always something that'll pique my interest, and I'll run with it and have fun with it, and then I'll see. I don't know.
I look forward to seeing it on your social media now.
I look forward to seeing it.
What's it going to bring?
Absolutely. Yeah. I read my own and get excited.
Yeah. But it was such a beautiful, I mean, I didn't even know we were talking for so long. It was such a great conversation. Got to learn and walk with you through that. It was amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been an absolute ball.
Yeah, 100%. That brings us to the end of this episode. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to like, share, and leave us a comment for Chef Paul to answer to that. So see you next time.